She trusted a stranger, but he had deadly secrets. Grace Millane's dream trip turned into her worst nightmare because she swiped right. What happened next will send chills down your spine. Grace Emmy Rose Millane, a 22-year-old British tourist, was brutally killed by a 26-year-old man, Jesse Shane Kempson. In today's case, I will share the horrific story of a young woman whose single mistake cost her everything that is her life. Grace Emmy Rose Millane, a 21-year-old from Wickford, England, was living a joyful life with her parents, David and Gillian, and her two brothers, Michael and Declan. Grace was known for her kind heart, artistic talent, and adventurous spirit. As the youngest in the family, she was adored by everyone and truly the apple of their eye. Grace attended St. Joseph's Catholic Primary School in Stanford before moving to Brentwood Ursuline Convent High School. She completed her last 2 years at St. Thomas More High School. In addition to her academics, she excelled in hockey and was a highly skilled artist. One of her paintings was even featured in London's prestigious mall galleries. Grace was socially active, frequently sharing her daily life on social media. She was open on various aspects of her life, including her relationships and preferences, discussing her interest in BDSM and having rough sex with her close friends. In September 2018, Grace graduated from the University of Lincoln with a degree in advertising and marketing. She attended her graduation ceremony surrounded by her loving family, her father David, her mother Gillian, and her two brothers. She was a passionate traveler. Grace had always dreamed of exploring the world and learning about different cultures. During her gap year, she set out to fulfill that dream, embracing the adventures that came her way. In today's generation, approaching anyone for anything has become easier than ever, especially with the rise of social media. Grace was no exception to this modern trend. She was very active on various platforms and had openly expressed her willingness to experiment, including her interest in BDSM and rough sex. However, during the investigation, interviews with Grace's friends and ex-boyfriends conducted by the defense focused heavily on her personal life. Articles highlighted her kinky fetishes and other sexual partners, showing her in a way that some found intrusive and, frankly, unfair. Those close to her described Grace as a naive and trusting girl who never expected how dangerous some encounters could become. Later, Grace came across Jesse Shane Kempson on Tinder, a popular dating app. While some people find their life partner on the platform, others encounter something very different. Grace arrived in New Zealand in November 2018 as part of her round-the-world trip. Jesse, however, was a man with a dark side that few truly understood. His personal life was full of lies, and even his own family had distanced themselves from him due to his constant dishonesty and stealing. Jesse would tell different stories to different people, depending on the day, the person, or the situation. He'd make up tales about dead parents being adopted by wealthy business people, having a law degree, a high-paying career, celebrity friends, or even an all-black rugby player as a relative. He'd claim to have a child living overseas, relatives battling cancer, or that he had survived fatal car crashes. Sometimes he even said he was dying from terminal illness. Jesse Shane Kempson, Grace's murderer, was born in the Wellington region in 1992 and grew up in areas like Wainuiomata and Poirua. Jesse Shane Kempson's parents separated when he was around 9 years old. After the split, his mother moved overseas and he had little to no contact with her since then. Initially, his father and grandfather worked together to raise him, but things changed when his father met a new partner. She had children of her own, and the families eventually moved in together to form a blended household. Jesse worked as a bartender and laborer while living with his father and stepmother. However, in 2013, he moved to Australia, hoping for a fresh start. His time there was short-lived, and he returned to New Zealand in 2016. By then, tensions with his family had reached a breaking point due to his constant lying and accusations of stealing from relatives. Even his grandfather shared that Jesse had borrowed money multiple times and never repaid it. Concerns about his behavior were evident from a young age. Within the family, there were worries about his mental health, his habit of lying, and his tendency to steal. Now, let's get back to the story where Grace and Jesse began dating. They had been chatting for about 2 weeks before finally deciding to meet. Their conversations were light and fun. Jesse, originally from New Zealand, as we said, claimed to have ties to Australia, so they talked about Aussie-related things. He came across as a nice, normal guy, and Grace felt, comfortable agreeing to meet him in person. On December 1st, 2018, they met for the first time. CCTV footage captured Grace walking towards City Life Hotel, clearly excited. In the hotel lounge, the two greeted each other with a hug and then happily walked upstairs together. After their meetup, Grace and Jesse went to a Mexican cafe to grab something to eat. They spent about an hour there, chatting and enjoying their meal. Shortly after, Jesse paid the bill and the two left the cafe together. CCTV footage revealed that shortly after leaving the cafe, Grace and Jesse arrived at the Bluestone Room around 8:30 p.m. The footage showed them talking happily, laughing, and appearing like a normal couple on a date. After some time, the two began kissing at the table. Moments later, Jesse stood up and walked away, though it was unclear where he went. Meanwhile, Grace, looking content, picked up her phone and texted her friend, sharing that her date was going well. Later that night, Grace and Jesse returned to the hotel. Everything seemed fine, as if it was just another ordinary date. However, the same night would turn into one filled with horrific events. What happened next would not only end Grace's life, but also reveal the chilling reality about Jesse. The terrifying truth is that if it hadn't been Grace that night, it could have easily been another girl in her place. The very next morning, CCTV footage captured Jesse entering the hotel lift alone and leaving without Grace. However, it wasn't the last time he would return. He had another plan in mind. Later, footage from Atrium on Elliott showed Jesse buying a large suitcase. The purchase seemed unusual and raised questions. Why would he suddenly need a suitcase, and for what purpose? This seemingly ordinary act would soon take on a very dark meaning as the horrifying details began to unfold. Here's the heartbreaking fact. On December 2nd, the very next day, was Grace's birthday. Her family and friends sent her birthday wishes through various social media platforms, but it was strange and concerning when she didn't reply to anyone. Thousands of miles away from her home in Essex, messages and requests for video calls kept coming to her phone, but none of them were ever answered. Now, imagine being far from home on your special day, receiving loving texts and calls, but being in a condition so unbearable that no one could even imagine. Jesse bought cleaning supplies and then rented a red Toyota Corolla. Shockingly, despite everything, he went on another Tinder date. When police later approached the woman from this date, she described Jesse as weird. She recalled that during their time together, he talked about how crazy it was that one mistake could send a person to jail for life. Jesse shared a story about a man he claimed to know in Australia. According to him, this man had consensual rough sex with his girlfriend involving strangulation, but accidentally killed her when things went wrong. He said the man was devastated because he loved her, but despite it being an accident, he was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to a long time in prison. Jesse was seen holding a trolley with 2 suitcases on it. His actions raised suspicions that something had happened to Grace, especially since she wasn't with him when he left the hotel that night. The next morning, Jesse went straight to a store where he purchased a shovel, likely meant for digging a hole in the ground. This act further hinted at something very wrong involving Grace. On December 3rd, when Grace's parents couldn't reach their only daughter, they contacted the New Zealand police. Concerned about her disappearance, Grace's brother also posted on social media, asking for help in finding her. Her father traveled to New Zealand on December 7th to search for her. He made a public appeal, pleading for help to find his daughter. Officers arrived at the City Life Hotel searching for Grace. Shortly after, Jesse also showed up, but when he saw the police, he didn't enter the hotel. Instead, he ran away. The officers quickly chased after him and managed to arrest him. This was his second big mistake after the murder, as his actions literally implied, "Yeah, I'm the killer. I'm the suspect." When officers first questioned Jesse, he claimed that he and Grace said goodbye to each other around 10 p.m. and even alleged that she had blocked him on Tinder. However, during a second round of questioning the next day, Jesse completely changed his story. He admitted that they had both gone to his apartment drunk. He said they started making out, and then Grace told him she enjoyed BDSM and rough sex, something she had done with her ex. Jesse claimed that as things got more intense, they began biting each other on different parts of their bodies. He further alleged that Grace asked him to choke her, suggesting it was something she wanted during their encounter. He then went for a shower, but when he came back, Grace wasn't there. He thought she left, but the next morning, when Jesse woke up, he found Grace laying on the floor with blood coming out of her nose. It was all a lie. He choked her for 5 to 10 minutes and brutally killed her. After Grace's death, the man watched hardcore pornography and took intimate photographs of her corpse before embarking on another Tinder date with a different woman at a different Auckland bar. The next day, he squeezed Millane's body into a suitcase and buried her in the Waitakere Ranges, a bushland area 45 minutes west of New Zealand's largest city. Detective Inspector Scott Beard, after the discovery of Grace's body, spoke to the media and confirmed that it was indeed the body of British tourist Grace Millane. He expressed deep grief over the tragic incident and assured the public that every effort was being made to uncover the truth and to deliver justice for Grace. He was jailed for 17 years to run concurrently with the other 2 sentences of 11 years. In addition to the murder conviction, Kempson was later found guilty of multiple counts of rape, sexual violence, and other offenses against other women in separate trials. These charges were unrelated to Grace's case but revealed a pattern of predatory behavior. Grace Millane's tragic story is a chilling reminder of how trust can lead to unimaginable danger. While justice was served, the pain left behind will never fade. If you found this story impactful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more gripping true crime stories.